Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me. We've got quite a few people in the chat already, which is awesome. Yes, I didn't tell any of you who I was bringing on this live stream, because what normally happens, and I think we can all agree with what normally happens, is the minute I let people know who I'm bringing on, they get fucking trolled and they get trolled. Don't go near Trevor. He's nasty. He's this, he's that. He's a baby killer and all that shit. So, yeah. So I've brought on today, who was kindly agreed to come on, Bruce Unfiltered, whose platform is shooting off. And yeah, so welcome. I'm going to bring Bruce on now, and we're going to discuss what's been going on throughout the year and what's been happening, what may happen in 2026. So without further ado, welcome, Bruce.
Hello, Trevor.
It's awesome to have you here, buddy. I've been watching you, as you know. I've been watching you on Instagram, and I agree with fucking nearly everything you say. In fact, no, that's a lie. I agree with probably everything you say, and it's funny. You've got that voice. You've got that, like, the last time I heard a voice like yours, it was the guy going, hopefully this doesn't upset you. The last time I heard a voice like yours, which was so out there, it was like a Simon Cowell. No,
okay, that's fine, mate. Yeah. I think I do have a distinct, I don't know, I get this a lot. I think I've just developed a nice presentation way.
Yeah.
And I've worked on it for a long time. I mean, obviously I started out just like anybody else. I used to just get my phone out and I started out on TikTok back in early 2022. And then just really stuck to TikTok for the longest period of time. And it wasn't really till, I mean, I did start my YouTube account quite a long time ago, but I've just found it a struggle. I had a full-time job, 9 to 5, up until July this year. So I worked in education as a college assessor. So you're struggling to try and do the social media stuff. And as that started picking up, I then had to make a decision this year, like, do I do this full time, or do I stick with the easy 9 to 5, or do I go for it? And I just decided to go for it. And here we are today.
You're very good at it. I mean, it must really, before we go into all the different things I want to talk about with you, how does it sit with you then about how like, for instance, this morning, I think yesterday I heard about, is Santa too white? You know, things like that. That must really drive you mad when you're seeing universities push different things like that.
Sorry, say that again, mate. I missed you. My audio clipped a little bit then. What was that?
Whenever universities are coming out with things today, now universities, whenever I was growing up, were a wonderful place, educated, they were out there, you could take things had changed, but now you're getting a different way of life there, where they discuss things like, is Santa Claus too white? And is the naughty list very dated?
It goes way beyond that, Trevor. For me, I did a big video on Sunday about the agenda. I won't say too much on here because I don't want to get your live killed, but the funny thing is I think what people don't seem to realize is everything we're seeing is product of a system that started nearly 20 years ago. And it's not been something, for me, Labour have compounded it because they came into power with an agenda. And the funny thing is when a lot of people look at Labour, and I don't, political views aside from this, you have to look at what they've done since they've got into power. And it's been a creep. And I think it started under Blair. And I think he made radical changes to the education systems, particularly the universities. I think they've pushed a socialist left-wing ideology in there. I think they started to, dare I say it, prescribe towards the woke narrative in pushing minority views across the board. And they started radicalizing a generation in preparation for today. And I think it's been manufactured. It's been utterly manufactured. I think we went from a system that I come from, which was the building trade, where apprenticeships and stuff were heavily pushed during the 80s and 90s, and they wanted a shift to academia, and they made this shift inside the universities, pushed everyone inside what I call radicalization and indoctrination. And we are now seeing the product of 20 years of people going through a system that's got them to think a certain way. Critical thinking's gone, and prescribed narrative is now the agenda. And it's an agenda that we see daily, and it doesn't matter what people's views are, be it LGBTQ plus viewpoints, whether it be educational viewpoints, immigration viewpoints, there's a prescribed narrative here. And it's been very slowly creeping in until what I think we saw is Labour initially started it off. They disappeared for 14 years as the Tories took over. The Tories didn't really do anything to stop it. They kind of did it on the quiet side. And now Labour have come in and they're stamping it home. And I think the evidence of what we've seen for the last 19 months is that in the radical changes they're making to things, in how they're pushing ideology inside the civil service, inside university. And the thing is, they can do it because they've had 20 years of pushing people into those systems from an educational system that supported it, if that makes sense. So it's not something that they just came in and were like, well, we're going to change all these bills and acts and this is going to happen overnight. It's the slow creep has been there for a long period of time. And one of the things people say to me quite often is, how do we change it, Bruce? What do we do? And I don't know if we can. That's the problem.
Yeah. We need a complete change of political parties.
Everything.
We do. And I listen, it's easy to, the word reform's now being used by Nigel, so I'll use this loosely, but we do need a type of reform. Now, I'm a firm believer that reform is going to gain power, but yep. I also believe that Nigel Farage is just the front man, and he will probably be replaced within the party within about 6 months, and that's probably because, again, he will have achieved something. He's done it. He can move on. With reform, though, when I look at the Home Office and I looked into the figures like you do, I look into figures because we can't. If we get things wrong, we can get cancelled and all that shit. But when I looked at the Home Office, I think it's 54,000 people they employ. Only 2% of their employees' job is public safety. Only 4%. Only 4% of them is Homeland Security, whereas I think it's 81 or 83% is to do with immigration. So, and the civil service. When I look in particular at the Home Office, the majority of the staff in there are all second generation. They're all from India, Pakistan, Syria, Afghanistan. I mean, we have several people in there. We even get Chinese in there. I mean, I think we have about, out of the Home Office ones that look after migration, the majority of them are foreigners. So why are they going to stop the boats? There's all that though. There's loads. But I want to speak directly to you, Bruce, about your direction, because you're an older version of Corky, and I think Corky's brilliant, right? Yeah. I mean, you're both out there, and social media has been a godsend and a nightmare all in one, because it has enabled people that are hateful people to have a platform and have an anonymous account, which we've seen that happen, as I'm sure you get trolled as well. But if it wasn't for social media, and if it wasn't for Bruce, if it wasn't for Corky, if it wasn't for other people speaking out, we wouldn't get to know the truth. So I'm a firm believer in independent sort of platforms now, like this, doing it. But I'm also very conscious, Bruce, about the US. And I know we've got loads of people in the US watching, but I'm very conscious about it because over there in the US, they have amendments to protect their freedom of speech.
Yes.
But here in the UK, we are on American, whether people like it or not, social media is an American platform. So we're on here in the UK talking about things, and we get attacked daily on here, but it's controlled. So whenever we are seeing things happening where online abuse, kids being stalked, PDF files, let's say, using this platform, this, in my opinion, could be stopped. Australia has just brought in a system where under 16s now are banned from social media.
They're talking about it here.
I read that today. Keir Starmer wants to bring it in. Now, if I look at this, one part of me is saying, yeah, protect the kids. But the common sense part of me is saying, well, leave kids on it that are under 16. You know who's on the sex register. Why don't you just ban all pedophiles from using social media? Would that not be a better idea, Bruce?
Yeah, 100%. And it goes back to what I was saying. It's the next cog in the chain, isn't it? It's the next part of the, so radicalize the youth through education. Then when people are starting to become, exactly, it goes back to exactly what you're saying. They're not just me and Corky, even yourself. There are lots of people out there now becoming more prominent because the general public are starting to wake up and they're looking for sources that aren't the mainstream media. The trust has gone. And we've seen that wholly play out with the BBC. All the narrative that's coming out around them about how they manipulated Trump's speeches, about the 1,500 editorial breaches they had regarding Gaza. and many other things, Trevor Phillips. We can talk about endless amounts of people that have been removed from there. Hugh Edwards, all these people that were considered prominent newsreaders, people that were trusted, and all the skeletons in the closet are starting to come out now. So they look to people like yourself, to me, to Corky, to Liam Tufts, to Adam Brooks, to all these people that are speaking out. And I generally generalize and cover a lot of things. Corky's a bit more homegrown. He does more of the core stuff. I try and do more bills and parliamentary stuff. You got Liam does a lot of interviews with people that won't ever be put up by the mainstream media. And Adam Brooks is now a normal working class guy that speaks about immigration and is being platformed by GB News. So and loads of other people that are doing this. And the general public is starting to turn towards that. And for me, that ban on the under 16s that will come in is it's got nothing to do with misogyny. It's got nothing to do with protecting. They can protect the kids, exactly like you said, from certain apps by restricting these organizations. They know who they are. It's the same as the smuggling gangs. They know who's doing this. They know where this narrative comes from. They try and put these people up as saying things that they're not saying. They could restrict it if they wanted to in a sensible manner. They could put PG ratings on things. We've had PG ratings in films for decades. And for me, it's for the parents. It goes back to, I think there's been a lack of parenting education. I think there's been a lack of education for parents on social media, even though predominantly my generation, I'm 48 years old, by the way. So when I turned 16 was when the internet arrived. So I'd kind of hit the peak of my teens at the time the internet arrived. So I was there in my 20s when social media came out. I was on Facebook the day it came out. I was on MySpace. So I've always used it and been, but I just don't think a lot of people did. And what they're trying to do now is I think they're playing catch up. Most of the government parties, like the Conservatives, Labour and Lib Dems, didn't even have social media accounts 3 months prior to the general election last year. And that should tell you everything. They were so out of touch with what's going on that what I think they've seen, even the Conservatives, they never needed that social media platform because they relied on core vote. They relied on the old system. So people would trot off down to the ballot box. Everyone would put their X in, Liberal, Tory, Greens, whatever. And then Reform obviously crop up out of the blue and basically started ushering in a challenge. And Reform, I would say, really utilize social media. And I think what happened is the government's got wise to it. And now what they're doing is realizing that because of independent content creators like myself, like yourself, we're going out there and telling people about the bills in Parliament that no one ever paid attention to. And unless it was 1 to 4 pages in the Guardian or the Mail or the Sun, which never published them, you weren't finding out about these bills until they became acts, which were too late. Now you've got people like us who are putting that information out there. So now what do? Well, we need to stop the youth going on social media for various different reasons. But the real reason is they want to control information. They're trying to control information and they're trying to do it as best they can because they know they can't turn around and just shut. I don't do anything that gives them a reason to shut me down because all I do is put information out that the mainstream media aren't. But the information's there to be found. Just most people don't know how to do it. I mean, if we take a statistic, for example, the Daily Mail on a weekly basis will publish online and across its platforms 3,000 news articles. That's one paper. Who's got time to read that? Nobody has. And what happens is a lot of information gets drowned out in the day-to-day entertainment, sport, etc., etc. So political information gets drowned out. But I think what you've got is a generation of kids coming through who have grown up on social media. They predominantly get their news and information from social media. The government have woken up to it, and now they're trying to restrict it as best they can because they don't want people like us telling them what's going on. Because I think when they realize, they'll clap back against the system. Does that make sense?
100%. And I've also noticed over the last few months that stories which are important to us, when we go on and we want to see certain stories, we won't read them because they're behind paywalls now online. So,
or they're overshadowed, or they'll be overshadowed by the latest scandal. You'll get, I think if we go to Gino De Campo, do you remember the week that he, so there was a lot of news was being spoken, not spoke. So this is, I try and explain how the headlines work to people and we use it in social media as well. I have to use these tactics. You'll understand all this about the hook, about the headline. 9 times out of 10, and I'm sure you're aware of this, Trevor, most people will read a headline. Nigel Farage is a racist. Then the subtext. Nigel Farage has been accused of racism, blah, 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 blah. Then it'll go into the paragraphs. Some people from 50 years ago have accused Nigel Farage of being racist because he said hurty words. But most people won't read what's actually been said, and they won't read the corrections from the newspaper, because what you often get, and I've done this before on Facebook, where I published actually an article about myself. And I did it as a test to see who would read it, how far people got through it, and who actually paid attention. And do you know what the shocking truth is? If you look at your analytics on a video, most people watch 10 seconds. 20 to 30% will watch a further 30 seconds, and very few people will watch to the end of the video. And 9 times out of 10, most of the context comes later on. Well, that's all based off of how newspapers worked for the best part of 100 years. Yeah. Headline, subheading, paragraphs, correction. But no one gets to the correction because they move on. They've got the information they wanted because that's part of the opinion they want to hold. So if you've got someone who's opinionated instantly, Reform UK are racist, Nigel Farage is racist, they'll read the headline and it's a confirmation for them. The subparagraph will sort that out. And if you've got someone parroting that in media, they'll do the same thing. So you wind 100%. Up with that's how they manipulate the narrative. And I think what you're getting is people like yourself, people like me, people like Corky, all these other people who are basically just hitting you first with, this is the data and statistics, and then giving you the context behind it quickly, and they don't like it and they want to shut it down. They don't want the information being put out there. And I struggled really badly. So back in October last year, I basically put a video out, which was about, no, you're right, mate. It was about the data use and access bill when it first came to Parliament. So I put my video out. It's on YouTube in November. And no one in the mainstream media picked it up. GB News did an original, which you would have to have been a subscriber to GB News on YouTube to have seen this video. So I think Bev Turner did it, and she did an issue
with the sound here. Bear with me, buddy.
Yeah, she did a piece on the data use and access bill.
YouTube does this every so often.
It's probably because of what I'm saying, mate.
YouTube does it. Winds me up.
I think your sound's all right, isn't it?
Wonder if I can still.
You all right? I can hear you fine.
We seem to have a technical issue, buddy, with the bloody sound, which is not good. Oh, got
right.
Yeah. Right. Oh wow! Sorry about that, everyone. Bloody YouTube just pisses me off every so often.
I think it's because of what I'm talking about, mate.
Well, you know, these things happen. You know what? I invite all conversations. I enjoy it. But mate, clickbait. Yeah, clickbait. YouTubers use it as well. I mentioned this every November. As YouTube works a month in advance when it comes to monetization, every November, and I've mentioned this several times, I laugh because I see some of the clickbait on YouTube coming up. When it gets to November, people know that they're going to get paid between the 20th and 25th of December. So that's their chance for a big pay packet. And some of this shit on here, I mean, Meghan Markle called me up, and it's just meant, some of the stuff's just crazy on here. And a lot of it is done. And I've had to learn, though, how to do a good thumbnail, because the thumbnail sells your content. Yeah. But people have woken up now. Audiences aren't stupid. Audience can see what type of guys or girls are on social media. They either trust you or they don't trust you. If they go and watch one of your videos and it's oh look, this looks interesting, and they wait to watch the whole video to see if you do mention what's in the thumbnail, and that's how people make their money. But I realized early on, very early on, after watching some people, that Dan Wooten's good at clickbait, by the way. His content's wonderful, don't get me wrong, it's good. He's got the presence, he's got the stage, he's got it all, and he's got the connections. So every so often he throws a story out there which doesn't make sense. 1 every 10, but then again, he makes up for his other 9 ones that he does there. But the one thing I want to ask you is, right, are you going to continue with the direction you're going? Are you being finger pointed yet? Maybe to better things, maybe like a better platform? Has anyone?
I don't. Well, I've had this discussion before. So obviously, I appeared on GB News for 3. I've actually been on Dan Wootton's show as well. I did a talk on the Fabian Society on Dan Wootton's show, and I've done GB News 2 or 3 times on the Saturday 5, mainly because I know Alex Armstrong. But yeah, I've not been contacted by anyone, and to be perfectly honest, a lot of people, when I've mentioned it, a lot of people say like, "Oh, when are you going to get to? When are Talk TV going to get in contact with you? When are GB News going to get in contact with you?" I don't know if I want it, to be honest. I think, Trevor, I like doing what I do. I kind of set aside in July that this is what I was going to do. I've managed to build up 4 social media platforms or 5 social media platforms. I generally kind of classify Instagram and Facebook as the same thing because they're both under Meta. But so I'm now building up on X. I'm nearly at 20,000, 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. Obviously, my big platforms are TikTok, 250,000, Instagram, 120,000, Facebook now 200,000. And I think I can just carry on doing what I'm doing. I think I've got my setup. I think I know what I want to talk about. I wrote my book about, obviously, just introducing people to politics, and just trying to break the noise, if that makes sense, from someone who's a normal working class guy who worked in construction for 15 years. I was a college assessor for 8 years. I worked in digital tech. I've grown up with social media. Given I might be in my mid-40s and maybe a 25-year-old doesn't want to hear what old man's saying, but they need to hear it. And I do think the youth are a bit more in touch with social media. And I definitely think this is where I want to stay. And obviously going into 2026, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I don't want to ever sell out to a prescribed narrative. I think if anyone ever came along and said, well, we want you to come on here, but you can only do what we tell you, I don't think I want that, because I don't think that's what people follow me for. People follow me because they know that I'll trawl through the parliamentary bills to find things that they're not being told about. And and mainly what I do is, going back to what I said about the 3,000 3,000 headlines from the Daily Mail. You've got that across the Guardian, the Telegraph. Then you've got multiple news channels. Give it the BBC, ITV, Sky, GB News, Talk TV. All these platforms putting all this information out there. And we're not even talking about, Trevor, Plymouth Live, Suffolk News, Devon Live, Manchester Live, the Manchester Evening News, the London Evening News. They're all localized news channels, and most of that doesn't even break through to the mainstream. So the amount of information that's actually out there is scandalous. And what I try and do, not scandalous, that was probably the wrong word. It's just so much that what I try and do is find the things that are important and push them out and just show, by the way, did you see this is happening? By the way, have you seen this bill? And that's what we need to do. And I think there's definitely a platform there now for people like yourself, for people like me, to create branded channels, not branded channels, but our own little branded subsection of the internet to speak that truth. Unfortunately, I think you know as well as I do, Trevor, there are parameters in place. A lot of what I do, I have to script and I have to run through AI, which I have a lot of the community guidelines embedded into, to make sure that I'm not getting myself cancelled. And I've got to admit, I hear a lot of people saying they've had their accounts blocked or videos pulled down. I haven't had a single video pulled in 9 months. I had one slight issue with a copyright on YouTube about 8 months ago. I had one video dropped on Facebook about 9-10 months ago, which was it was actually a video that I shared, which was actually an Irish, which I find quite odd. It was an Irish advert about child safety online, but it would never have been shown in the UK. And we don't get, and I don't know if you want to comment on this, but we in Australia, Ireland, and in various other places that aren't UK bound, our advertising standards are very, very different to you guys. You can do some very sort of cut-in drink driving adverts or child safety adverts. So I tried to share one on Facebook and it instantly put it down as sharing harm to children. Like I got proper flagged for it. Nothing ever happened off of the back of it, and it passed.
Isn't it shameful though, Bruce? Harmful
it's disgraceful,
to children.
mate.
Well, it's only harmful to children unless you're an MP. Then you can do what you want with kids. But everything else is just, we're being suppressed massively in the UK. And I don't understand it, because it comes across, in reality, it comes across like, and I don't mean this to anyone watching. There's a lot of people in the chat that love you, by the way. They love watching. They love watching you. So there we go. Keep doing what you're doing. Bruce is the main thing in there. But we put things out as if we protect children, but in reality, we are really screwing over kids when it comes to people in higher authority. So it is shameful. And yes, I remember some of the advertisements for drink driving in Northern Ireland. They were shocking. I mean, they were brutal. They were brutal.
But you need that, and we won't get that here in England or in Scotland or in Wales. I think if you're inside that, I think on the island, if we consider that as this separate island, you kind of, and it's the same with Australia. I've seen some brutal online safety videos, just really hard hitting. And I think I managed to get one out not too long ago where I cut a lot of the advert to like 5-second bits of it. And then I intersected with it because the only way I could get it out on Facebook was to have me dropping in on it to try. And people even said to me, like, Bruce, why didn't you show the whole advert? That was like, I can't believe that advert. And I'm like, because I can't, because the minute I play 30 seconds of that advert, Facebook will kill it. It's and that's the thing is we just don't see like they keep going on about things like the Online Safety Act and protecting kids, but it goes back to what we originally spoke about. I don't think it's got anything to do with that. They dress it up as a headline. And it's got nothing to do with protecting kids. It's got everything to do with protecting the narrative. Yeah. Everything.
So we are approaching the end of the year, Bruce, and there's a few things I want to ask you. What's been the most embarrassing highlight that you've seen in the news this year? I know what I'm going to pick, but I want to which headline or what has happened that you think, and you've went, oh, that's embarrassing throughout the year. It's going to be hard to pick one out of so many.
It is hard, mate. I do five videos a day, 365 days of the year. My word. Which one? I mean, I honestly, mate, there's so many.
I'll tell you which I think.
Go on, you tell me yours.
Right. Cringeworthy, embarrassing was Harry and Meghan getting awarded Humanitarians of the Year. So there's that one, but there's different things that I think, and I've sat back at that, and I've just I did videos about that as well. That was crazy.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I do generally keep clear of the royals. I don't know what I don't really do a lot on them. I have not got much interest in her at all. Like I think. But I have an opinion on it. I definitely have an opinion on it. If you want my opinion on it, my opinion is that the minute the Queen died, everything changed.
100%. Yeah.
The minute she passed, it seemed like something shifted there. Something shifted. I still like to feel like she was a bit of a block. She represented Britain. She represented the true value of Britain. She still had like not imperial. That's the wrong word to say. An empire mindset, so to speak, of how great Britain was, what we did in the world. Everyone wants to talk about things like slavery and stuff, but I think as a united kingdom, as the islands of Great Britain, and all the involvement we had in the world, all the good things we did in the world, I think she was a true representative of that, and she protected that. And I think when she passed, something shifted. And I think when he came in, I think it was quite obvious that he'd obviously come out and said he'd been to the World Economic Forum and done speeches and things. And I think it's quite clear he was aligned with that agenda. And I don't think she was. I think she was true nationalist. I think she was. I think she was very proud to be the Queen, of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, UK and Northern Ireland, whatever you want to say it, Great Britain. The funny thing is we talk about Great Britain now. This moves on to something else. I think the divide in the UK is changing, because I think we had it for a while. We definitely had this kind of regimented split between Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and England. And I think that's coming closer together. I think people are putting their issues aside to recognize the bigger issue. And I think Ireland predominantly, not necessarily, I mean, I don't know what things are like in Northern Ireland, because we don't really see a lot of news from Northern Ireland, but Ireland, we're seeing a lot of news about the immigration over there. And that's definitely still under EU rule. And we're seeing the product of what's happening there. But I think we're definitely unifying more and more and more. And I think the more this government do, is just going to unite the people. I think they're doing a good enough job of it in themselves. But going back to the royals, I try and steer clear of them, mate. And I could pick 101 things since Labour have got into power in the last year: free speech, jailing people, ushering through authoritarian rule. I mean, there are so many things that they've been doing that just the U-turns, you know, we're gonna put winter fuel allowance, or, you know, take the winter fuel allowance away. We're gonna put it back again. The way they've brought in bills and completely watered them down. Everyone thinks this workers' rights bill is going to be great for them. It isn't. They've slammed businesses. They've slammed farmers. They just everything about what they've done. For me, a lot of people turn around and said, and this is one thing I paid attention to, what the hell were they doing for 14 years when the Conservatives were in power? I'll tell you what they were doing. They were finalising what they've done in the last 18 months. They were waiting to get in power to compound what had been started back in 1997 under Tony Blair, continued under the Conservatives, and basically they're coming in and put the cherry on top of everything. And I can't actually give you anything, Trevor. I could give you 100 things that I think have been terrible this year, out of 1,000 things that have been detrimental to every single person in this country. And the one thing I find odd is the amount of people that I think still will vote for these political parties. But is there anyone in your audience that can say they're in any way, shape, or form better off from anything they've done, unless you're a train driver or
well, family with more than 3 kids are probably going to be better off now. But ones that don't work. I mean, I don't mean families that go out and earn a cross and try and add to society. There's been a load happen. There's something which sort of triggered me a little bit, which is what Keir Starmer put in place. And I don't care. He's done loads of things. I don't think he's done anything which adds value at the minute. Unless you are here as a legal or an asylum seeker. If you're non-British, then yeah, he's helping you. But if you're a taxpayer, he's not. And the one thing that stood out for me this year massively was when he introduced a death tax to soldiers killed serving their country.
Yes.
So that bit sort of made me go, what the hell are you doing? Recruitment's at rock bottom, morale's at rock bottom. I mean, historic allegations, people being prosecuted. He shafted the British Army. In fact, another thing that he did do, which wound me up, was he took empty, disregarded military bases, and the taxpayers spent hundreds of millions redoing them up to give them out to asylum seekers, who then went in there and then got human rights lawyers to sue the government because they felt as if they weren't being looked after. And I'm like, do you realize I used to sleep in a room? I used to shit in my room. I had a toilet in my room. I had the smallest room ever. I mean, I used to share a room with 4 or 5 men at the same time. I mean, but they won't do it. They need independent places. So the death tax broke me. And it is now in place where if you're serving the military and you're killed in combat, your insurance would pay out and it would go to your family. And then he brought in that system where, it's very rare a soldier gets a payout for being killed in action. They fight you. I fought the government for a decade to get compensation for being injured in Afghanistan, and it took me a decade.
Because you were awarded the military cross, weren't you? When you served? Yeah. I do my homework, mate.
Well, thank you, but I got. And the thing is, I will be honest with you. It's probably one of the worst things that ever happened to me, getting that medal, because it brought so much hate, so much envy, so much stories. Trevor's a thief, Trevor's a scammer, Trevor's a homophobe, Trevor's a racist. The stories were piling up, and all it was is that people just didn't like the fact that I got that fucking medal. But it brings a lot of hate, but it did open a few doors.
Why did it bring? Sorry, I don't want to turn this because this is obviously your interview, but why did that bring hate?
Well, it started off going, he lied about the medal, and I'm like, what do you mean? He never did what it says in the citation. He never fired the shots. He didn't do this here. And I'm like, right, okay. Now, if people were to look into how medals are awarded, it's very, people don't look into it. Again, clickbait. They hear a story, they run with it. The truth is, to get awarded a gallantry medal, you come in from a patrol, there's been an incident, someone's been killed, there's been a bomb. Every patrol that goes out on the ground where there's a contact, engagement with enemy, every soldier comes in and they have to write statements. You write a statement of what you seen, Bruce. Why did you fire? How many rounds did you fire? Why did you Your statement goes away, it gets checked. So if you're on a patrol with, which there normally is, say 25, 30 people in it, when they all come in and they fired rounds or they've been involved or they've seen something, they all write statements of what they've seen and why they did it. Those statements are collated and checked over by your major, your colonel. They go up to the brigadier. Okay, so they go through a series of checks. everyone's interviewed that was on that patrol. And out of all those interviews and out of all those statements, they put together maybe, and then the higher up the ranks decide, we're going to put that guy in for medal because he said he did this, but he said he did it. He said he did it. He said he did it. So
it was corroborated. Yeah.
And eventually they look at things, and then you don't find out on the spot, by the way. A year later, you're told, by the way, you've been put forward for this medal and you've been awarded this medal. Then the rumors start to come in and they go, well, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. But people that wrote the statements to back you up, they just they don't, from that statement, they just decide not to back you up because they hear all the hate coming.
Because you were sent to war under a Labour government, weren't you? You fought in Afghan, didn't you? And Iraq?
Yes.
Yeah. And you were sent there under false pretense.
Yes, I was 100%. Now, at the time,
what's your opinion on that? Sorry, I don't want to turn this around, but what's your opinion on that? Because that's product of a government that we see today. And I think where you were sent started what we see today, because a lot of people now are of the same opinion that what we're seeing flood into this country, especially via legal routes, is the children of that war.
Yeah. Bruce, I'm going to be honest, right? My mindset changed when I became a civilian and I looked at things. When I was in the system, I was part of the COG. I had a military mindset. Orders are orders, do it. Now,
you're trained.
Yeah. Orders are orders, but now the thing is, people say you can't question orders. You can. I questioned many orders, but I had to do it when I went up the ranks. I couldn't do it as a private. I had to do what I was told to do as a private, as a lance corporal. As a corporal, you've got a little bit of platoon sergeant, platoon commander. You start to question things, but you have to do it logically. You can't just attack a senior officer. But as a young lad going to Iraq, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait. I was going to go out there and have the chance to lead men in battle in a war scenario. Everything I've ever been taught, I can do it all. And I thought it was brilliant. Did I fire a single shot during the Gulf War I? No, I did not. Why? Because, first of all, I didn't have a clear enemy. And second of all, every time I came across soldiers, they dropped their weapons and put their hands up. Everyone. Wow. Gulf War II, Telic, the first Telic, everyone surrendered, mate. Everyone surrendered. I know the Americans were way in front of us and they were in proper battles. We had one or two little skirmishes, but I never had to fire a shot at anyone because everyone surrendered. And we took thousands of prisoners of war. It was so simple. But I found it shameful because I had to go back. We ended up doing that Telic 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. I had to go back and Telic 7. It was a nightmare. And it wasn't, we weren't fighting it. The enemy was just militia everywhere.
Yeah.
Pockets of Paris everywhere.
Would you say it was like the breeding ground of probably what they say now is ISIS and the Taliban?
Massively.
Yeah.
Massively, mate. And the thing is, had we have been told the truth that there was no weapons of mass destruction, we should never have been there. We went there, and this may upset people. We should have left Saddam Hussein exactly where he was. Because you know what? Yes, he was a dictator. Yes, he did release mustard gas onto some people. But I get that. I get that. And that's shameful. Maybe that should have been the only reason we went to remove him, for killing his own people with mustard gas. That's the only reason. But to make up weapons of mass destruction in order to sort of do a phony war, that was shameful. And that did cause...
And they used the UN for that as well. Blair used the UN, didn't it? It was UN peace envoys that went in there, and UN scientists that went in there to apparently ascertain this stuff under Blair, and they initiated all of this. That's why I go back to and I don't want to pry too much into it because I know you might not want to talk about it. I certainly didn't want to turn this around. But I think it goes back to what we're saying is about, obviously, when we move modern day, going back to what you're saying. I spoke to some military guys at a recent Reform UK conference, and one of them turned around and said he actually felt ashamed of himself, not because of his military background, not because of anything military-wise, but because he hadn't paid attention to what was actually happening and how he sat around for the last 5 to 10 years and didn't see what the agenda was, what the pattern was, and what the change was coming. And he feels now like it's his time, like probably what you're doing. And I talked to Rich from the Great British National Strike as well. He's ex-military. Same thing. He said that when he was in the system, you're trained and you're doing your job. And then when you come out, you step back and realize, my God, this is what they had us doing. This is the fallout of what's actually happened. How do you think we are today then militarily? Do you think there are people in this country that want to fight for this government and the Putin thing?
Do you know what? I think the veterans have the knowledge and the expertise to actually take this government easily. There's enough people out there that I think veterans are more qualified than our current serving military. I mean, there's certainly, if we look at the numbers of the special forces, let's just take the SAS, a couple of squadrons. We'd be lucky if we had 200 serving, ready to go special air service, right? However, we could very easily pick up 5,000 SAS veterans. So, I mean, I think that we could, I can't, should we have a coup? I don't know. At the end of the day, we definitely need something to change the current system. Veterans today, I got a little bit annoyed last week. I think it was last week when the Chief of Defence Staff, the guy from the Royal Air Force, said that standing there at Russi, a massive military audience in front of him, and he's giving a brief as the Chief of Defence Staff, telling everyone that veterans may need to fight again. They may need to serve and sacrifice. As he was giving that speech, Bruce, a guy I know, he's on this platform. He's not on YouTube. He's on Instagram as James Deegan. He was fuming because we have a Chief of Defence Staff who's never been on an operation. He hasn't had a single operational medal. He's been from desk job to desk job to desk job without doing any sacrifice, is then has a cheek to stand up there and tell us about security and operations. So we currently have a delusional...
And is he talking about the same veterans that when they return from combat and get discharged from the military are then left homeless months later, who are sleeping under bridges and who aren't given jobs and who aren't given training and who aren't supported in the real world? Those veterans is who he wants to now come and fight for the country.
Well, exactly, Bruce, and you've just hit it's just a little bit of a sore point there, because when I was leaving the military, I had injuries. I was broken when I was leaving, but I had a guarantee medal. Everyone wanted to help me. Now, when I say everyone wanted to help me, what I found was whenever I was leaving the military, none of my veteran friends reached out to help me at all. I had a mental breakdown, fell apart, applied for a house because I was losing my military quota. I applied for a house on the system, council house, and I think it was every Wednesday or Thursday. I used to get a chance to bid for a couple of houses, and I would go on the computer and I would bid for the house that I wanted, and I never got one. And there was one week in particular, Suffolk Coastal Council, I bid for a property, and about 24 hours later, I got an email saying, "Mr. Cole, congratulations, you were the only one that bid for this property." And I started, me and my wife and kid we were elated. We were getting a council house, we're getting a new one. And then I received an email probably 5 or 6 days after that saying, "On further reflection, we have noticed, Mr. Coate, that you have no connection to the local area, and that house is going to go." It went to a refugee. So I couldn't get a house. But I was being...
And this is exactly what you never, ever hear in the mainstream media news.
I had
that exact story.
It's shameful. I had 2 weeks left to leave my married quarter. And I was like, fuck, I can't get... So basically what happens is this. You're forced into privately renting.
Yes.
You have to be. So when you privately rent, my whole pension was taken up.
Yes, mate, because it's unaffordable.
Yeah. So my whole pension went to the house, and from that, I think I was left with £116 for bills and food. And so then when you're a mentally broken guy and you've been discharged medically, I had to apply for benefits, and I applied for PIP. I got turned down 3 or 4 times from PIP because it's like fucking 72 questions, and whenever your mental health is in the gutter and you get to question 6, you rip it up because you fucking can't deal with it. So no one teaches you how to do that. I applied for employment support allowance. I applied for universal credit, got turned down universal credit. I didn't know. So then I got, whenever you leave the army, you're given a thing called not credits, it's experience where you can learn a trade. When you're broken up there, you can't do it.
Working credits, were they called working credits? Something like that. I think
it was
working tax credits.
No, it was and you don't get given money. It's basically you get given the opportunity to go and retrade. That the army will invest money into you to do it. I had to get that signed off excuse me, to my wife, who went out to work because her husband was a fucking retarded fucking complex PTSD guy who can't deal with computers and shit and all different stuff, and I can't deal with, see, whenever too much stuff comes in front of me, my brain it turns into, like, I haven't got dyslexia, but it just turns into and I get anxiety and stress because of it. So, and that's to do with my brain being fucking thrown around in my helmet when I got blew up a couple of times. I struggle with that, Bruce, and I ended up privately renting. Yeah, and then I the way I tried to fix my head was, right, I need to focus. So I started helping other veterans on Facebook, and I helped loads. And the more if I helped 5 veterans, 1 veteran called me a thief. If I helped 10 veterans, 2 veterans call me a scammer. It just got too much and built up. So at the end of the day, I gave up helping veterans because I just realized that a lot of the community, there's a lot of great guys out there and girls, I must point that out. But for some reason, the good ones just keep quiet. It's the toxic ones that are the ones that cause all the issues. So I just decided just to stop doing it. But a lot of guys that do take their lives as veterans have been let down. They're in a system trying to get compensation. I mean, I remember an insurance company getting back in touch with my barrister. Well, they got back in touch with my solicitor, and then my solicitor said, we need a barrister, because the insurance company, I won't mention their name on here, but the insurance company that I tried to claim from for being injured in Afghanistan got back in touch with me and said, well, it's quite clear that Mr. Colt left those camp gates on his own will. And I'm like, whoa. It was an order. I had to go on a patrol. Yeah, but you didn't have to. You could have refused that order. Then I would have went to jail. Yes, but you walked out of those gates towards that bomb, and you did that. And I'm like, fucking no. I mean,
so they tried to twist the insurance, and this is typical of insurance companies. They tried to twist what your military orders that you could go through. MPs would probably pick you up and chuck you in the stocks in jail, whatever. So they tried to twist the fact that you had a military order into you did that of your own accord.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure the army would fall apart pretty quickly if that was actually the case, wouldn't it?
Well, of course it would.
Everyone just says, fuck it, I ain't going to bother.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. Insurance companies are insurance companies, and I think we all know how they work. I mean, but the problem we have as members of the public and armed forces is whenever we take out insurance, we box tick which we want to be insured for. Yeah. And we go, that. What we never do, and we never do it, we don't turn to page 6 and we don't read the 60 pages that they have there in small writing where you can't read without glasses, because that's the bit that have the loopholes in it, which will just destroy you. Insurance companies are very good.
But that probably moves us. It's product of modern society, mate. Everything's wrapped up in terms and conditions, and people are signing rights away and they don't even realize it. Everybody's doing it now. Even signing up for a Disney Plus account, you sign up to buy a new Samsung TV, you buy a Fitbit, you buy a phone, you install new software on your PC. Everything's got a term and condition attached to it, and everybody signs them willy-nilly without paying a blind bit of attention what they're doing. 100%. And then they'll turn around and this. Sorry, because I don't know if you want to talk about this stuff about the military. I didn't mean to turn that round on you at all.
I don't mind, mate. Little chat.
Yeah, because it's good to get that knowledge out to people, isn't it? It's good to hear your experience, because I think it just shows it's product of a system put in place detrimentally to you who served this country and are now considered a normal citizen and possibly working class, and how others are prioritized over you. And that is the system. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere now. It's not just the military, it's education, civil service, it's the Home Office, it's public services like the police, teachers, everywhere.
I've seen that. Before I move on to the next bit, I'm going to say a big shout out to Zepper, her birthday today, actually. So we've got a great crowd in. Right now, you've just spent the last few days with your family, Bruce. Clearly, it's Christmas. It's a time when we're all getting together. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I didn't think I'd make it today for this live stream. Because don't want to upset you, Mum, but I've just been on a 16-hour boat trip and a 9-hour drive, and I've brought my mother here. So nice. we got in last night at midnight, and we're just dealing with certain things at the minute, but it's all good. Christmases should be for family, and I'm really glad that I still have one parent left, but What's your plans for Christmas, Bruce? Have you anything special planned?
So I don't know if most people know. So me and my ex-partner are separated. So I have my 5-year-old. So I've got a little boy. So he's currently in Germany. His mum is German. His family is German. So he's over there. We actually met. Funny thing is, mate, is you probably didn't know this. I spent 3 years in Germany at Mansa Barracks. So I worked for NAFI. So you probably know it. You probably know Paderborn. You probably heard of Gütersloh, and you probably know Mansa Barracks. So I worked with 26 Artillery in the MOD and NAFI. And obviously the Royal Engineers are over there as well at Princess Royal Barracks. So I was there for 3 years and met my now ex over there. So we came back to the UK, had our little boy 5 years ago. So yeah, my Christmas, I recently went away this weekend to a place called Potters in the UK, had a little bit of a family 4-day away. Now got a couple of days of settling down, and then it'll be back to the family Christmas Day. So I'll be going around my brother's house to enjoy some festivities with my immediate family. And then obviously nothing stops for me, mate. I don't get holiday pay, sick pay, or a pension doing this full time now. So on the 26th, 27th, I'll be back at it with the videos, trying to lead up into the new year, just doing some predictions of what I think is going to happen next year. And then, that'll be pretty much my Christmas over until New Year's. I'm going to go and enjoy a few drinks New Year's, but nothing stops for me, mate. I've even been doing, yourself. We spoke this morning. I've been doing videos this morning that I've got scheduled to go out later today. We just keep going. We have to keep going because this isn't going to stop. And the funny thing is I actually sat here yesterday and thought, do I want to have a 2-day break, Christmas Eve or maybe Christmas Day and Boxing Day? But the problem is it doesn't. The government are still there doing things. There's still things happening. There's still things that are going on in the background. It does not end. They don't care about our holidays. They don't care about our breaks. And it's all done as a little bit of I don't want to say that people's Christmases are a distraction, because they're not, and people need to have. I just feel for the people in this country that can't afford it. I feel like I'm in a privileged position through my family, through what I do, through my drive to do what I do, that I put myself in a good place for Christmas and my son. But I know everyone doesn't have that. And despite how much they try, the system just pushes them down, and they're not going to enjoy the Christmas that they should be enjoying this year. And I just hope that people don't think too much that it's about presents, and they can just enjoy time with their family and just do whatever they can, the best that they can do to their ability. And I want to say next, the funny thing is, mate, is I sat here at Christmas last year and I said exactly the same thing. And I was like, maybe next year will be better. Hopefully next year we can get into Christmas and it'll be better. And I think there are a lot more people worse off this year now because of this lot. And I'm conscious of that. And because I'm conscious of that, it's just going to push me harder into 2026, mate, because something's got to change. And the more, if I woke up 10,000 people this year, I need to do 100,000 next year. And you do, and Corky does, and everybody does. We just need to keep going.
But you enjoy, obviously you don't enjoy doom and gloom, but surely you enjoy this because you must get something from it, because you know what? Waking, as you just said, they're waking people up, giving a lot of people kick up the ass. Like each year, do you know what I enjoy each year? And I use social media for it. Getting people to wake up when it comes to charities, especially the Royal British Legion, that have a £55 million staff salary bill every year. And I try and wake people up going, your money's not going to where you think it's going. Stick to locals, stick to local charities, stick to the small ones. I mean, the big ones that are out there with the big, stay away from them. And so I get a sense of pride out of lifting people up. And well, there was one guy I tried to lift up about 3 months ago, actually, phoned me up crying his eyes out, said he was skint. I gave him £2,000, paid off his bills, and then he made several videos about me on YouTube calling me a cunt. But again, I know it happens, mate. But the thing is, you have to. We can't give up. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. We can't give up. We must keep going, because you know what? What's the alternative? There is no alternative. I mean, people watch us because they understand that what we're saying, we think like ordinary people. Well, we are ordinary people. We try and do things which try and lift up our communities, and there's too much doom and gloom out there. But I'm not going to keep going on more. We're coming up to the hour point. But one thing I would like to ask you is, what for you has been, there must be something, what for you has been the biggest highlight this year, good or bad, the biggest highlight?
I think it's the wake up. to be honest. And I've seen it. I've physically seen it on the streets when I've been out and done my interviews. I went out. I don't know if anyone, a lot of your guys here who maybe are going to go, and thank you for all of you that are subscribing to my channel now, much appreciated. But I don't know if yourself, Trevor, if you saw when I went out to Westminster and exposed the lefties, the guy with the t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's been doing that. It's been going out and putting that mic in front of people and exposing these people for what they are. The communists that wanted democracy, the man wearing a shirt at a rally that he didn't even know what it said on his shirt or what it stood for.
Yes, I know. That was crazy.
And going out and speaking to, so I obviously do a mixture of stuff. I do street interviews. I went out to the UTK protests, just speaking to regular people, normal people that I think more and more people are waking up, more and more people. As an educator, as someone that worked in education for 8 years, as someone who came from the building trade, I am product of leaving school at 16 years old with bugger all GCSEs. I got good English and maths, but that was about it. I threw away apprenticeships and things up until I was 26, 27 years old, worked in factories. And then it wasn't until in my mid-30s, started challenging myself with knowledge, just working hard, obviously going away to Germany, experiencing things, coming back, getting qualifications. And I think I'm proof that even if you come out of school at 16, you don't have to be academically minded. You can learn stuff. There are people out there that are breaking things down. And that's what I like to think I do now is I do all my content as if I'm talking to myself at 18 years old. If I'm the person that I would have listened to at 18 years old, breaking down how these things work, because it's all jargon, it's overcomplicated. People don't want to read through stacks and stacks of paperwork on bills. And I'm just going to keep doing that. And like I said to you earlier, if I woke up 100 people or 10,000 people this year, we need to wake up 100,000 next year, because the more people, and for me, it's not even about explaining everything, what net zero is, what agenda 30 is, what agenda, I mean, I haven't even done my video on agenda 50 yet, because most people think agenda 30 is the thing. It's not. It's the marker point for 2050. That's the real problem. And I just want to empower people to find out where the information is. Yes, parliamentary TV exists. The parliamentary bills page is there for you to use. Utilize artificial intelligence to break this stuff down for you. Don't be scared of it. Use it. Use the system that's there for you to see against the people that are condemning you with it. And that's what I want to try and empower. And hence why I wrote my book as well. I know I've just plugged my book twice in this. Sorry, mate. But I wrote a book. Let me show people.
Show us, Bruce.
I wrote a book called Politics for People Who Don't Give a Toss About Politics. It's on Amazon. I've sold 1,000 copies since August. And if anyone goes and reads the reviews on it, it's one person turned around and said every teenager in the country should read this. And the funny thing is when people follow me on social media, that was wrote in a specific way that when you read it, you hear me. It was, and a lot of people have said it's very clever how I've done it, because it reads how I do my videos. So it's just information. It's basic information, mate, because when you start talking about things like by-elections, parish councils, parliament, the makeup of parliament, what a whip is, the agenda, the WEF, the UN, the World Economic, the WHO, you start looking at all these systems, the NEC, who really control Labour, the Fabian Society, who are the backdoor think tank of Labour, the 1922 Committee, it's the Ever Foundation, who back up the Liberal Democrats, and most people don't know about this stuff. They think the Parliament is the pinnacle. It isn't. Parliament is the theatre. It's the 10,000 people around it that cause the problems. And that's what I try and wake people up to is, if you can understand the basics, you will do the research yourself, because it will open doors.
I am, Bruce. Thank you, because tell you what I'm going to do, and I mean this. Thanks, Deborah, for putting up Bruce's YouTube channel here. Guys and girls, go across, subscribe to Bruce. I'm going to go and get that book, actually. In fact, I'm going to go and order it straight after this here. I'm going to order
Thank you very much.
I'd like to have a look at it, actually, because politics is, truthfully, mate, politics can be, it's just soul-sapping whenever you try and listen. So something.
And it's done deliberately, Trevor. You know this. It's done deliberately. It's done deliberately to treat people like they're stupid. And what I try and do is is using my education background, is saying you're not stupid because you weren't taught this at school. You were taught the basics. These are the Tories, these are Labour, and most people switch off of it especially between the age of 19 and 30. I would say most people are not politically engaged, and they become more politically engaged the older they get, or like yourself, when they suffer something or are treated badly by the system. That's when you wake up, and it's usually not until people suffer a problem that's a cause of the system that they actually open their eyes. But we can't afford that anymore because they are bringing in systems and agendas that are so big and are going to be so detrimental, not just to us today, but us sitting here will be affected by this when we come to pension age. How old are you, Trevor, by the way?
50.
You're 50. So we're same generation, mate. So you've probably got a child who's going to grow up in this. Your people that are watching this have probably got kids that are going to grow up in the 2050 system that is coming. And what they're doing today is laying the foundation for that. And I have two very different opinions on this. 2050 and what they're doing now could go a good way, and it can go a very bad way. The bad way, Skynet, iRobot, Minority Report, name all the films you want, predicting people committing crimes, AI accusing you of stuff based on your social media profile before you've even had a chance to commit a crime. That could be 20 years down the line. Or we could have a utopian society where if we've got a government in control that actually wants to put it in place for the benefit of society, we could live in Star Trek, or we can be living in Skynet. And that's how I look at it. There's one or two ways. And I think people need to be aware and awake of who they're electing and who they're putting into power and how big this system is and where the control is. We are the slaves to that system, and we do have a voice. We can stand up against it, but people need to be awake about what they're doing.
Wow. Fucking hell, Bruce. You're like an encyclopedia, but it's been wonderful, buddy. Right, mate, I'm gonna call an end to this. I've learned so much just listening to you, and the chat has been going mad, actually. I mean, you've also got a lot of supporters here. Oh, was it Trevor? Please, can you tell Bruce that I've just subscribed to his channel? Thanks very much, Craig.
Thank you very much.
Get behind guys which are trying to fix things, guys who are telling us the truth, and guys that actually are filled with common sense, which is a very rare thing today, Bruce, in society, actually. But, mate, it's been awesome, mate. I want to do this again with you. This has been fabulous.
We definitely can, mate. Absolutely. Yeah, I love doing it. I don't like, the thing is I know I can come across preachy sometimes, and I tell my followers off. Sometimes my followers get annoyed with me because I'll turn around and say, you lot have dropped the ball. But I'm not here to dress things up and fluff things up. I'm here to give it to you brutally. And if you don't pay attention to it, it's going to consume you eventually, whether you like it or not. And that's what I think people need. And can we do anything about it? I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I certainly can give answers to a lot of things that are happening. Do I have the ultimate answer? No, because I don't run the country. I'm not in a position to run the country, and I'm not in control of all the systems that are there. But I think making people aware of what's actually going on can get the mass change, or the mass protest, or the mass petition signing, or the mass voting in a general election to get this change. And also, I'd just like to wish it's not doom and gloom. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope you all have some merriment over the next couple of days. But unfortunately, and the reality is this is not going to go away because it's Christmas. It's going to be here when we come back off of Christmas. It's going to be here in 2026. And we need to enlighten more people. And the more people that talk about it, the more people that do something is better than nothing.
Well, Bruce, listen, it's been amazing. Lots of people are subscribing. Thanks for putting up Bruce's link again there, Zephyr. I do appreciate it. I'm going to listen. Let's get more people like Bruce involved in trying to help us and give us advice, because we're not going to get the advice from our MPs. Mine won't even speak to me. Listen, Bruce, it's been wonderful. Have a wonderful Christmas with your family, buddy. And I want to organise this again very soon. But take care. Thank you for coming on. I do appreciate it.
My pleasure. And thank you very much to all you guys for the chat as well. And thank you very much, Trevor, for hosting me, mate. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Take care, Bruce.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Well, guys, thanks for joining. That was awesome. That's Bruce in the chat. I have appreciated it. And we're going to see more of Bruce on YouTube. He's over on Instagram. Go and subscribe. He's got his YouTube channel, and he's on Facebook, TikTok, you name it, and over next. Thanks for joining me this morning, everyone, and take care.